Hey, today we're just going to look at how we play with getting photos between our phones and our ASP.NET backend, and we're going to be storing these in a database. So the photos are going to go right into my entity framework database. I'll have another part showing how I do this. Um, my application here is simple. I'm using this image picker, and of course I'm running on my simulator here. And if I hit this little button here, I'm going to access my photo library on my simulator. Of course, there's not much there, so I just pick one of these guys, and we show the photo. And then if I hit this button here, we will send it to our server. Now, how does this code work? Well, the first thing I had to do was to add some stuff to my pub spec, and I'm using HTTP and also the image picker. And then, of course, I have to do my pub get. Second thing, because I'm running on an iPhone, I needed to modify my info.plist. Now, this is found under, remember, whenever you're using an iPhone or the simulator, we have to have Xcode build this runner project. And under runner, we're going to have this info.plist. And in here, we have to add some magic keys here so that we're able to access our library on the simulator or the real camera itself. Now, with these parts in place, we should be good to go, and we can start looking at the code. So now, how do we use this stuff? Well, I just got this stateful class here, which called image picker UI. And of course, I import the image picker and the async parts that I need. And this, as you saw, I show and I hide this button. The way I do this is with I have this show button which I set to false, and then I set my endpoint for my because of course we're going to send these bytes over, or the image bytes over to my .NET server. Where they're going to be put into our database, and in our build method here is simple. I have a container here with a child, which is the image, and then I have this row. I actually only have two buttons, and one I'm going to show all the time, and that's just what I use to select from our picker, and then optionally I'm going to, depending upon the value of show button, I'm going to show this other button. And originally this is going to be false, so it's not going to show. And so when they click on the get image, we're going to call this method up here, and get image is an async method. Just puts up the image picker, and then the user is just going to choose the image they want from. In the course, in the case of our simulator, there's not much to choose from. And then if the image is set, and we just check for null here, then we just change our state and set our image variable and set the show button to true, because we want that second button to show up. And that when that second button, which is going to actually do the send to our server, is clicked, then we call it send image to server. And this will first of all take in and read the bytes from our image, and create this byte stream, and then we're going to create this. We're going to do a multi-part request. Now, this multi-part request is much like a normal form request, because we're going to send both. We can have both string fields, which we wouldn't have normally if this was just a normal form, but we can also include, as we are doing in this case, string binary files. And the way we do this, we first of all create this byte stream by making a call to byte stream, and we pass it in the bytes of the image we just selected, and of course these are going to be encoded. Then we're going to create our multi-part request. And of course, it's going to be a post, and then we need to create our endpoint, which will be my server up on Winhouse, and then we're going to add files. In this case, there's only going to be one, and we're going to add as a multi-part file. I'm going to pour the bytes from the stream we just created, and we're going to assign a file name, which I could use on the server side to identify the file. And then, of course, I make my request over to my server, and I should be checking my response, but in this case, I'm not. And I just set, in my set state, I just remove the send button so that we know the operation is through. And so it looks as if we've gotten our image file sent over to our .NET server, and but we have to make sure that we want to prove this. So what I've done, I've just written this simple little list view application here, which will just show 3 of the images that we sent over, and to my .NET server. And remember, each of these files is going to be received by the server and is going to be put into a table. That table is called photos. So each of the photos will be assigned its own ID. And it's that ID that we're going to use to retrieve our photos. So the little program I've created here is just a simple list view. And I have as children of the list view, I have 3 containers, and these containers will contain a cached network image. Now, it doesn't have to be cached, but I just use this so that it would be pulled out of the cache if it was there. And the placeholder just it's circular progress, so it'll just show us a little circle while the image is loading. And then we have to assign to my getImage method is a method on my web API that will retrieve the image, and we have to pass it in the ID of the image we want. And so this is what the 19 and the 18s. This is the index into our table, and that's it. So what I'll show you in Nell, I'll show you in my next video. Show you how I created the server part.